Hey guys, it's Lewis from Recycle Bicycle Sales here. In today's video, we're going to be taking this bike through a minor service. Now the owner has actually requested during this service if we can replace these tyres across to road bike tyres, because at the moment he's got gravel bike tyres, and he's also mentioned that he wants some new gear cables put on both the front and the rear, but just the inner cables because it's not feeling very good. So join me today as we take it through our minor service. So as I just mentioned, the owner has asked for a minor service, but they've also asked us to have a look at a couple of different things here. They've mentioned that they want to replace the tyres, which they've supplied for us because they got them here at the Santos 2 Down Under, and they want to stick with tubeless. This is already tubeless, so that shouldn't be too difficult for us to change over. We're just putting new tyres on, we're not completely setting it up tubeless. They also want to replace both gear inner cables and flush the shifters. They've mentioned that they've been clicking the gears and it's not shifting perfectly at like all the time. So they said that at a previous bike shop, they said that it was starting to fray up the front. So we'll have a little look at that and we'll see if we can make it a bit better. And he's also said that it feels like it's dragging, and he says that he doesn't think that it's him that's slow. He thinks that there's something dragging on the bike that's making the bike feel slow. So let's have a closer look. If you've been following our channel for a while, you already know that the first step that I'm going to say here is a bit of a visual check. We just want to make sure that there's not too much damage on the bike, there's no cracks or major scratches that I need to talk about, and one of the best ways that we can go about doing this visual check is by cleaning it as well. So let's start with that. Now we've got our cleaning stuff. The way that I tend to go about cleaning the bike is I get my bike cleaner, I just use a spray bottle here, and I use a nice clean microfiber rag. I'm just going to start by spraying on the frame and the fork, and I'm just trying to wet it. We sort of go all the way around, front and back, see if we can get the stays as well. And while I'm here, I also like to try and wet the wheels while we're here as well, because we'll come around and give them a bit of a clean too. So what I'm doing here, I don't know if you can hear that, but I can hear the front brake rubbing. So I can already tell where that sound, he was mentioning that it's dragging on him. Now I can kind of tell where that is. Anyway, so wet the whole bike. So we've wet the frame and we've wet the wheels. When I was spraying onto the wheels, I was getting it partly onto the rim, but also partly onto the tire, because we're gonna try and clean the whole thing. I know that we're gonna be replacing these tires in a second anyway, but I always like to do this as like the first step anyway. Sweet, so it's been sitting on there for a few seconds. I think that's long enough to give it a bit of a clean. While I'm cleaning here, I'm also trying to feel along the frame to feel if there's any dents or bumps or if the rag's getting caught on something. And then that way I can kind of tell if there's any damage to it. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to quickly mention that YouTube sent us a message recently saying that 94% of people watching these videos haven't subscribed yet. So I just wanted to quickly say that we have tens of thousands of dollars worth of value in these videos, and we're giving it all to you for free. So if it is something that you appreciate and you want to help our small business succeed, I'd love it if you could hit that subscribe button down below. Anyway, let's get back to the video. A really important spot that I've learnt to clean as a bike shop is to clean underneath the down tube here. A lot of the time when we walk the bike out to the customer, we've got it up in a wheelie, we're sort of rolling it along the back wheel, and then they're looking at the down tube. And if you clean the whole bike except for the down tube, it makes the whole bike look dirty in front of them. So a little pro tip that I've learned over the years. It all seems to be pretty clean already, I think. I mean, it was a little bit dirty, I suppose. Cool. So when we get to the wheel, the way that I like to do it is I start at the valve, so that way I know when I've done one complete rotation, because I'm going to finish back at the valve here. So I'm going to just clean the wheel. What I'm doing here is I'm kind of holding the rag between these two fingers here. So I'm kind of wiping on the rim, but I'm also wiping on the tire as well. I'm trying to clean the whole thing. Even though we're about to replace the tire, it's just kind of the way that I tend to do it. Once I've finished cleaning the rim and the tire, now I'm going to move across to the spokes. When I'm cleaning the spokes, if we look at the wheel from the sort of the angle that I'm looking at it from, so imagine you're not where you're standing, imagine you're where I'm standing. We've got spokes on the drive side and we've got spokes on the non-drive side. I'm just going to focus on drive side first. So if I grab a wet part of the rag, because I've been cleaning the wheel, it's already a little bit wet. I've got spokes that go up and down. So I'm going to clean up one spoke and then down the next one. And then I'm going to skip this spoke because that's on the other side. And I'm going to come across to this spoke here, which is still on drive side. We'll go up and down. Skip, up and down. That one's got a bit of muck on it. Now this is also a good spot, a good way to know if there's any damage on the spokes, because I can feel with my fingers if they're still straight or if they're bent, or worse still, if they're missing. Now I jump across to the non-drive side and I'm just doing the exact same thing again. I'm going up and coming back down. Now that looks like brand new already. While I've got the wet part of the rag in my hand, I'm also just going to go in and wipe part of the hub as well, just to make it look a little bit nice. Cool, and now let's head over to the front wheel. So, exact same drill. I'm gonna find where the valve is, and I'm gonna start by cleaning the rim and the tire. Now this part of the wheel is already wet because I sprayed it before, and I'm using that slightly wet part of the rag. Now we're cleaning the spokes again. Okay, I'm gonna start on non-drive side this time because I'm right-handed and that's the hand that I prefer to start with. So I'm going up and then down, and I'm just trying to clean as much of that road grime or muck or dust or whatever it is. I'm just trying to get that off the spokes, and I'm also checking the condition of the spoke. Oh, interesting. This drive side on the front only has one spoke that goes up and down. They don't crisscross like they do on the non-drive side. There's just a single spoke. Means it's a nice lightweight wheel. More common to see this on a front wheel than a back wheel anyway, because the front wheel doesn't have to be quite as strong as the rear one does because it doesn't have the drive going through it or your body weight as well. And we'll clean the hub just to be extra sure. So while I've still got the wet rag in my hand, I'm just gonna go around and wipe over any other spots that I can see a little bit of dust, spots that I haven't touched with the rag just yet. I might sort of hold the cables back. I might check that I've gone underneath the different tubes as well, under the top tube, under the down tube as well, under the bottom bracket. And I'm just trying to get any extra dirt off that I can. Not anything there. Cool. I think I'm gonna get straight in and start doing the tires now. So the owner here has actually decided that he wants to move away from these gravel off-road style of tires and move across to a more road tire. He was telling me that he's really only taking this bike on the road. He's not taking it off-road. So he thinks the bike will be a little bit faster if he goes to a slicker road tire. So that's what he's tracked down. And the first thing I'm gonna do is make sure that these are a tubeless ready tire, which they are. I can see the little logo there, and I actually already knew they were because it says tubeless ready here, or tubeless easy, it says. Tubeless easy, we'll see how easy it is. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. And are they the exact same width? Are they the same tire, or is one for the front and one for the back? They're both a Schwalbe Pro 1 in a 734. And they have the same part number, so they're exactly the same. So it doesn't matter which one goes on the front or the back. So I'm gonna start with the front. So since this one is already tubeless, when I take this tire off, there's a chance that it might be a little bit messy. So let all the air out as much as we can first. Now this is where it can sometimes get messy. What I'm gonna do here to remove the tire is I'm going to break the bead. What I mean by that is I'm gonna push the tire into the middle of the rim so that I can let all the air out. So I'm gonna go all the way around, and I'm gonna do that on both sides. Back to the valve, spin it around, and then I'm gonna push it. Oh, I can see it getting messy already. All the way around to the valve again. Cool. All right, so this is the point where you would get a tie lever, but because the camera's on me, I'm gonna try and show off and get it off without a tie lever, if we can. Yes, good. Now I don't wanna get sealant all over my shoes if I can avoid it. There's still a bit of sealant in there, which is good. Which means they're still in good condition. So I'm not gonna throw these tires out. I'm definitely gonna give these back to the owner because one day he might wanna start going on the gravel again. All right, I'm gonna take this opportunity to have a look at the rim tape before we just throw the new tire back on. So I'm gonna make sure that there's no scratches or rips in the tubeless tape. I'm gonna make sure that it is actually tubeless rim tape, not just random rim tape, and this is tubeless tape. So we are all okay. I'm not seeing any issues. Just to be sure, I'm gonna grab a dirty rag and I'm just gonna clean up on the rim tape so that I can see if there's any dents or if it's starting to sort of unstick itself, and that's where the joint is. So I'm just having a look to make sure that there's no liquid getting in underneath the joint of where the tape does a full lap and then comes back over itself. It's right there.
Sweet, just giving a little...
So now we're ready to swap the tires as the customer requested. Now he said that he wants to go tubeless, so we're gonna make sure that we have tubeless tires that are going onto there. Now for the purpose of this video, I'm not gonna go super in depth about how to set up tubeless, because if you click subscribe down below, you'll see that we have a video how to set up your bike tubeless. We talk about the 4 main steps involved there. So I'm just gonna fly through it in this video, but if you wanna know how to do it properly, make sure you click subscribe so that you get the notification when that one comes out. Step 1 is we're gonna remove the old tire. And step 2 is replace the rim tape. We've gotta make sure that we have the correct rim tape on there. We're lucky in this wheel that it was already tubeless, so we don't actually need to replace the rim tape because it's already tubeless ready rim tape. But if you did need to replace the rim tape, you can check out our video coming out in just a couple of weeks. And then following that, we've got our tubeless ready valve that we'll need to push through the rim tape. Again, this one was already set up tubeless, so we didn't need to do it. But if you do, check out that video. And then we're gonna fit our new tire on there. Now it's really important that you find a tubeless ready tire when we're doing this step. I'm actually quite lucky that the customer that brought this bike in, he already sourced these tires for us and they are already tubeless, so I know that we're ready to go. So without further ado, enjoy this fast forward of me putting this tire on. You'll learn as you do this yourself that the step that we're doing now is not a fast step, but I'm gonna fast forward it for you so that this video is not too boring. The next step is we're going to put our tubeless sealant in. And the next step is actually a 2-part. We're going to inflate the tire. My first bit here is I've taken the valve core out because I was putting the sealant in, and I'm purposely leaving it out because I know that I need to bead the tire first. That's the first part of this next step, because sometimes this step is quite difficult to get enough air in there quickly so that we bead the tire. Although that went first try. It doesn't usually work first try there. So if you're doing this step at home, be ready for this to take quite a bit longer. I'm gonna take the pump off and all the air is gonna come out really quickly, so I have to catch it with my finger. I don't know if you heard that on the video, but it was incredibly loud. And now I've got my valve core and I'm gonna take my finger off and I'm gonna try and catch it with the smallest amount of air coming out, but it comes out at a pretty high pressure. That was not bad, still some air in there. Tighten it up. So I was saying that this was a 2-part. First part was beating it, and the second part is pumping it up. I'm gonna go to about 60 PSI for this because it's a really big tire. But before I put the wheel back in, I'm gonna clean around inside there as well, because now that the wheel's out, I can see a little bit more. So while I'm cleaning this, you might also notice that we've already done the front wheel, because that's the one that we used in the other video about how to set up your bike tubeless. So again, make sure you subscribe so you see that video when it comes out. A little bit of grease on the thread of the skewer so that we can put it back in and make sure that we're not going to damage anything. Perfect. All sorted. All right, let's have a look at the job card and see what we're doing next. So on the job card, the customer mentioned that the inner gear cable, so the one going to the rear cable, the rear derailleur, and the one going to the front derailleur, he mentioned that he had a service done a little while ago and they said that the cables were starting to get damaged, so he definitely wants to replace them. He said just the inner cables, not the inner and outer. So without further ado, let's get straight onto that. I'm gonna start with the rear one because that's on the right-hand side. Oh, I could feel that clicking already. So we'll have a look at that because I reckon I mentioned a flush. Yes, and flush shifter. So there we go, I can feel it clicking. So we'll have a look at that as well. Let us begin by disconnecting it from the back so that we can slide the whole thing through. So I'm just loosening it quite a bit and then bring the bin. I missed the bin. This one here is not going to be a quick 10-second job. Sometimes you get lucky and you have the outer cable, which is this black piece here, which is one really long piece from the shifter all the way through the frame, under the bottom bracket, all the way to here. I can see here, actually I can tell by what's going on here, that this one is not an outer cable all the way through. So I've got 2 options here. I can just wing it, or I can think ahead. So we're gonna think ahead. We're gonna put some sheaths in here. A sheath is a plastic piece of cable that I can put over this cable and hide it in there so that when I put the new cable in, it's got kind of like a train track that it can follow. It'll just make it a little bit easier. So I'm gonna flip the bike upside down and I'm gonna have a look under the bottom bracket to get a bit of an idea as to what it sort of all looks like under there. Now that I've flipped the bike over, I have decided now that I'm gonna do the rear derailleur and the front derailleur at the same time because of this plastic cable guide that I've got here, because it's a one piece. If I was able to split them apart with the rear gear cable and the front gear cable, I could do one at a time, but it's one piece. So this big piece of black plastic, I have to pull it out. So I'm gonna do them both at the same time. So let's loosen that front derailleur. So with this sheath here, I'm just gonna slide it over the top of this cable, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm not pushing the cable in, it's still sitting here. So you can see I'm sliding that over the top, and I can see it down there. Let's see if I can, yes, cool. So now I can comfortably pull the whole cable all the way out because I've still got this sheath that's in the middle here. So I don't want that to fall in. I would much rather it to be longer than it is, but we're gonna work with what we've got. Hopefully it doesn't fall in. We'll see how we go. And the front one, it looks like I might not even need to bother because the black plastic cable guide that goes here wraps around the bottom bracket and then comes all the way up to the top of the frame. So I can just pull it straight out and we're all good to go. But of course, Murphy's Law will state that it won't be as easy as I want it to be. But there we go, we've done it now, so we'll find out soon enough. Cool, now, this sheath that we put at the back, ideally, I want to do the same thing for the down tube for both different cables. So one's gonna come up to here, and one's gonna come up the other side, up to here. Let's see if I can find a long enough sheath in my toolbox. So now I want to do the next sheath. I'm gonna do the down tube section. We've got a rear gear cable, because it's quite long, it comes all the way to the back, and we've got a front gear cable. The rear gear cable is gonna go to the right-hand shifter. So if I look at the right-hand shifter where the cables are coming out, these two here, I can see that the gear cable comes in on this side. So this longer one is gonna be connected to that cable there, not the other one. So I'm gonna start on that side. I've made sure that I've grabbed a sheath that's at least as long as those two holes and poking out a little bit on both sides. And I'm gonna thread this on and try and get it all the way through. Ideally, I want it to slide all the way on. It looks like it's not going to, so we're just gonna be careful. All right, now I'm up to attempt number 3 of trying to get this sheath through. Turns out the hole that it's coming out here is thinner than I thought, so I'm gonna struggle to fit the thickness of this plastic sheath through. The width of the inner cable fits fine, but the sheath is just a little bit tight, which means that it has to be like millimeter perfect, which is a little bit difficult. All right, we got it, just. Now I've got a sheath through there, but to be able to get it through, I had to cut that much off of the sheath, which means we've got not much room on both sides. You can see how much of the sheath is poking out here. I'm comfortable enough to pull it all the way out now. I don't know how much that is, a fingernail. And then on the back end, we've also got about a fingernail. Ideally, I'd like to have this much poking out on both sides so that there's less chance of it going wrong. But here we are anyway. So I was saying before that I was going to do both at the same time. Now that I've seen how much margin we have for error, which is literally like that much, I'm stressed. So because I'm stressed, I'm going to do the rear one first while it's sitting there, rather than trying to be cool and do them both at the same time. Because there's a chance this could go wrong, which is going to be frustrating. So what I'm doing here is I'm just removing the cover so that I can get to the gear cable. Tiny little bolt, don't want to lose that. And this cable here, which feeds up to the right-hand shifter, which is the rear, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to click it and make sure that it's in the smallest cog, which I know that it already is because I put it there already. And I'm just going to push this cable through and I'm going to pull it right the way out. Since we're at the front end now, the outer gear cable, the black plastic piece, goes from the shifter, it goes underneath the handlebar tape, and then it comes out here. So I don't need to sheath this part because it already lines up completely, so I can just pull that all the way out, and I'll have a look at why that might feel bad later. It could feel bad because there's a tiny little kink there. You might see that. That might be why it felt a little bit average for his shifting. So let's put a new one in. In comes the new cable, get that through part of it, And then I'm gonna feed it down the track and hopefully, should get it in there. If we're looking down here, we should hopefully see it come out just like that. Cool. Now I can start pulling it through. While I'm putting it in this part here, it's sort of twisting over itself. I wanna make sure that it's not gonna fold over itself and kink. Now, the stressful part, because I had to cut that sheath, I'm gonna try and hold this one still and make sure it doesn't pull through. Ooh, like I just did then. Let's feed it on and then hopefully we'll see it come out. Oh, good. Oh, I was quite nervous that step wasn't gonna work, but it did work. Instead of using that sheath that I had to cut short to do the rear one, the right-hand one, I'm going to a much longer one here, and I'm just gonna try the same thing that we did before, but I'm gonna try not to give up this time. Making sure that the cable is still sitting here, and it's just the sheath that's going into the frame, not the cable. No. Okay, no, this one's not gonna go. So I gotta do the same thing. But because I'm learning, because the word learning means same condition, new behavior, I'm gonna remember that last time I cut it too short, so I'm gonna try and cut this one quite a bit longer so that it's a little bit better. All right, here we go, let's cut it. I'm gonna cut it there. Hopefully it works. Come on, come on. I think what's happening here is the classic, when you say it's gonna be a 5-minute job, it's an hour, and when you say it's gonna be an hour, it's gonna be a 5-minute job. And I don't know if I said it, somebody can let me know in the comment section below if I did, but I might have said this was gonna be a quick job. And now here I am, and it's not a quick job. Oh, I felt it go through. So what I did there is I went back to the same sheath that we used on the other side, the one that was only just poking out, because the other one just wasn't fitting. So it is through. We're talking minimal length on both sides again. So I'm back to that same pocket of stress that I was in before. So, all right. Oh, look at that. That's like, oh man. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. What do I do here?
I wouldn't touch it. I'd just put the cable through.
Ah! Oh my gosh. All right. All right, this is an early generation of the hydraulic road shifters. So it's got a cable in a different spot to what the current ones are like. So I take off this little cover, 2 little bolts, which you don't want to lose. If they fall on the floor, I will never see them again. Now, as I'm feeding it, hopefully we'll see it poke out of this little spot here in just a second. Perfect. That almost bumped the sheath in then. Oh my gosh, that almost undid everything that we just did. Let's get it through there without losing it. All right, put your bets on. Are we about to lose this sheath here? I think we might. Can I hold it? I don't know.
Touch it.
Oh, far out. Oh, did I just feel it fall out of the bottom bracket? Worst case scenario just happened. The sheath that was poking out by this much fell this much, and now it's stuck inside the frame. So now we're going off of feel. I'm trying to use a magnet now to get it out. Oh, I've got the other cable in the way as well. We'll fast forward through this part because this is not going to be very fun to watch. So with the snap of my fingers, we'll have the cable in there. And with the power of editing, it's all done. What you missed was about 30 minutes of us digging inside the frame, pulling off the cable guide, we pulled out all the stops, but we got it through now, so all is well. But that does mean that we had to remove this cable guide. Sometimes it goes your way, or actually, as a band, a day to remember, say, some days you're the hammer and some days you're the nail. I don't know which one I am today. Ah, there it is. All right, now we've got both cables through. And a final little check that I like to do is to make sure that they're not crossed over each other. Is I'll press the shifter, and as long as I can feel it moving, and I hope that it's not affecting the other one too much. And then, perfect. Now I can feel that moving. All right, so they're both set up. Now I can do the section of outer cable here and connect it to the derailleur. And the front section doesn't have any outer cable, it just goes straight onto the derailleur. So I'm going to do the rear one first. Cut a little piece that went into the frame. It slides in there like that. And we've got the gear cable, slide that in. And I'm going to reset the barrel adjuster, which means that I'm tightening it and screwing it all the way back down to like how it would have been when it came out of the box. Give it a nice little tug, and I'm just going to click the shifter to make sure it is actually in the smallest cog, and it is. And then I'm going to grab my 4mm Allen key, and I'm pulling some tension on that cable while I'm tightening this up. And I'm probably going to end up needing a little bit more tension in a second, and that's where we'll use the barrel adjuster when it's time to set up the gear cable, set up the gears anyway. Same deal with the front. I'm pulling a bit of tension on it, and I'm going to click down to make sure that we're in the smallest cog. We've got the least amount of tension, and then I'm pulling some tension on the cable while I'm tightening it up. Now I can try and set up the gears a little bit. So now I'm ready to start setting up the gears. I'm going to fly through it pretty quickly in this video, but if you want a more in-depth video about how to tune your gears or set up your gears, we've got a video further back on our channel as well. But the long story short is I'm starting in the smallest cog, and I'm going one click at a time. It didn't move at all. There we go. Sometimes I don't like to cut the cable until right at the end because I want to know if I need to pull it longer, I've got sort of a handle that I can hold. So I won't do it just yet. All right, if I go click, didn't come down yet, which means we're going to want to take off some cable tension. There we go. It doesn't feel great though. And I think it's because, yeah, we're right on 0.75. So I think actually, we're doing a chain? We are. All right, I'm gonna put a new chain on this as well. So when it's time to put the new chain on, we're going to start by removing the old chain. So I'm gonna break it at the quick link, and then I'm gonna pedal it forwards. Put that in the metal recycling. And we can grab our new chain. Making sure that we're in the smallest cog at the back and the smallest cog at the front. And with our new chain, when you take a new chain out of the packaging, one thing that you'll find is it is almost always too long. That way you can fit it onto pretty well any bike. So I expect that I'm gonna have to cut this chain in a moment, which is why we have our trusty little chain brake tool. This is a Shimano branded chain. Shimano has writing on one side of the chain saying what chain it is, and it has no writing on the other. We want to have the writing facing outwards. That's sort of the unwritten rule in bike mechanics, so that everybody does the same thing. So you have the writing facing outwards. So small ring at the front, small ring at the back, and we get over the jockey wheel, over the little bridge in the middle. This is where lots of people go wrong. So make sure you get over this little bridge here in the middle. If you want a more in-depth video about how to replace your chain, I think we talk about it in another video further back on our channel as well, so you can check that out too if you need. But it's over the bridge. And then see if I bring it down here, can you see how much that's overlapping? Quite a bit. So I'm going to find where the first male link is. I'm going to call it that one, and I'm going to cut it. Put it in. Tighten it up, make sure that the pin is lined up with the pin on the chain. So it's going to push it out. Loosen it. There we go. And metal recycling. Put our tool away and our new chain link. So this is the piece that we're going to use to connect the two sections of chain together, which is the bit where we broke the chain earlier on at this same piece. We'll put one piece in the front side, one piece in the back side, and then I'll grab them both, pull them further forward. They will link into each other, and now that means that it's all ready to go, or all ready to be connected into place. There's two different ways that we can go about connecting it here. We can either use that same tool that I used to break it by putting it in and clipping it open, or if you don't have one of these tools, you could also pedal backwards bring it all the way up to the top here. I'm gonna spin that crank so it's in a better spot for me. There we go. So it's currently sitting up here, and I can punch the pedal downwards, which is gonna pull this top section of chain, which will clip that into place. So if I try and punch down, nope. Got it, now it's on. Sweet. So now it's all connected into place, and we can go ahead and redo that gear tune. Hopefully it was pretty close, but we'll double check it all anyway. I might even give these parts of the drivetrain a little bit of a clean now that we've done that as well, since it's got a brand new chain. Oh, that feels so much smoother already. Not enough. So I can tell that that front derailleur, that cable's a little bit too loose. I'm gonna need to add some tension on there. And this one has a barrel adjuster up the front, so I'm gonna reset that back down to 0. And I'm gonna try and get as much tension on that with my fingers. No, not quite. That might even be a limit screw thing. I can hear the derailleur making a little bit of noise, and I can feel that it's in the body of the derailleur. It's got a little like creaking noise. So I'm just going to dribble some of the old WD-40 onto the pivot points. Cool, that's a whole lot quieter now. So now I want to make sure that it can still shift up and down on the front derailleur. I noticed before, when we were down in the small chainring, it didn't want to come up to the big one super easily. So this could be one of two things. It could be that I need to add cable tension, but it also could be that the high limit screw is a little bit too tight. Because it doesn't want to squeeze much further than that, I can't really get it to overthrow. I'm just going to loosen that high limit screw first. Let's see if that makes a difference. Just a little bit. Still not making a big difference. I mean, I know it's on the big chainring now, but it didn't want to go easily. So I'm going to add some cable tension. Much better. All right, cool. I'm going to clean these jockey wheels just a tiny little bit, and I'm just going to give it the drivetrain a quick little wipe over just because we've put a brand new chain on there. I'm not going to bother filming this part though because we've got videos further back in our channel about how to clean different parts of your drivetrain, but I'm going to quickly do that now just to be nice to the customer, and I'm going to wear some gloves for it. So now that I reckon it is all nice and clean, I remember that the customer mentioned that it felt like it was dragging and that the bike felt heavy and felt slow, and he's pretty confident that it wasn't himself that was making the bike slow. And when we were cleaning the bike, I spun the wheel and I heard the front brake rubbing. So I'm going to start by having a look there, and then we'll have a look at the rear one as well. And I know that I'm going to need this tool. So let's have a look. So I'm just going to spin the wheel, and I can see that the caliper is sitting a little bit over this side, so it's a little bit biased towards non-drive side. So if I loosen it, I reckon that's it, but the rotor has a kink in it as well. So we'll get that. So the caliper is aligned. I can tell it's aligned because I can see daylight on both sides, but there's one spot somewhere on the rotor that it keeps just going ting, ting, and there's a bit of a kink in the rotor. So I want to try and straighten out where that bend is, because otherwise it's all perfect. I don't know if you can tell, but it's not rolling very well just there. So it's touching on that section of the rotor and it's touching on this side. So I'll grab my little straightening tool. I don't know what they call it. Perfect. I reckon that's it. I can't hear it anymore. Nice. Let's move along to the rear one. All right, let's have a look at the rear one. Now I'm actually using my white shoe on the floor, and I'm looking through the caliper at my white shoe so that I can see daylight on both sides of the rotor. I can see that it's actually not central. So I'm going to move the caliper a tiny little bit as well. Thank you for reminding me that I need to put these covers back on. I said that I put them in a nice safe space, and I asked the viewers at home to remind me where I put them, and now we're going to put them back on. It clips on there. Don't lose that screw because it's so small. And don't lose this screw either because it's so small. And this one here, again, has tiny little screws. I reckon the final thing that we need to do is a bit of a bolt check, a bit of an M check. If you've been watching our videos for a while, you already know that when I say M check, we're talking about the whole bike in the shape of the letter M from the alphabet. We're starting down here, working our way up. We'll go down, up, down. So we're gonna sort of look across the bolts there. We have removed the wheel because we set this bike up tubeless. So I know that this skewer is nice and tight because I did it before. And I know that it's greased because I greased it and I can see a little bit poking out there. The brake caliper, we literally just aligned the brake. So I suppose we can sort of work our way up here and we'll get to the whole cockpit area here. So let me grab a tool and pretty much just put a tool in every little bolt along there to make sure that they are all nice and tight, which they are. And then we can check the headset, which we'll recheck once it's on the floor as well. Once we've got the weight of the bike sitting on the floor. This one's got a slightly worn out headset bearing as well. It's doing that return to the center. We'll work our way further down. Let's have a look at the pedals. Make sure that they're nice and tight. That one is. And so is that one. That 1 and 8 is. Let's make sure we're nice and tight in the cranks as well. And it is. Cool. We'll work our way further up. Let's have a quick look at that front derailleur mount. Just because it's there. Nice and tight. Seat clamp. Oh, this one uses a interesting style. Nice and tight. Cool. And we'll check the saddle rails. Yep, nice and tight. Cool, so up, down, up, and then we'll come back down to the back here as well. Let's check that the derailleur is on nice and tight, which I think I already checked while we were doing the like gear tune as well. This brake caliper is nice and tight. I know that because we checked it, and the skewer is nice and tight as well. So, all things considered, this bike should be in pretty good condition now. Let's have a final check over with the job card and see if there's anything else that's outstanding. But otherwise, I think we're almost ready to go for a test ride. I'm just gonna drip some WD-40 in where we put those new cables as well, just so that it can feel nice and crisp. It feels a little bit better as well, actually. All right, I'm gonna put these hoods back on and then we'll take it out for a test ride. Brakes feel good. Gears shift smoothly. I want to make sure that the shifts are the same speed going up, but also going back down. Cool. I'm going to try the same thing in the big chainring as well. Oh, slow to shift. I'm going to add some more cable tension. There we go. Is that an RS6? Oh my God. Anyway, distracted. Yeah, that feels way better. Much better. All right, and final thing before I go inside is I'm just gonna do a bit of a load test now that we've got a brand new chain with a used drivetrain, just to make sure it's not skipping. Feels pretty good. I reckon we're pretty good. Sweet. Very happy with that. Let's go write down some notes from what we did in today's service, and then I'll call the customer and tell him his bike's ready to go. Perfect. Cool. All right. That's everything that we needed to do in this service. I don't reckon I have any major issues to report to him as well, which is always a good thing that I can say when he comes and picks it up. But nonetheless, yeah, I think we took that through a nice service there. The new tires look really good on there and they feel like buttery smooth out there as well. The new chain made it feel a whole lot better. And I am always going to be scared when I have to replace a gear cable now because of that exact scenario. But nonetheless, with everything that we did in this video, I still enjoyed working our way through this service, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video too. If you did, let us know in the comment section down below, and we'll be sure to do more of these sort of fun, engaging styles of video. Otherwise, I'm going to say we'll see you in the next video. See you guys.